What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here for Adorama TV with the legendary Joe McNally, finally back on the channel.
Yeah, I don't know what legends you're following, but you know, I'm just a guy with a camera.
Yeah, I found him on the street and he was like, I want to shoot photos. So I dragged him in here to Swing 46 to try out the new Nikon Z8, which has been this mythological rumored out camera, which is now in hand for both of us. And what exactly is this camera? We'll get through some of those specs, but we went into more of an experience with you. We decided we both know the Z9. It's going to be compared to the Z9. And then you just came in here and you started shooting a swing band, a jazz band, portraits, and you're just kind of going through it. Right off the bat, from going from a Z9 to a Z8, what went to your head on that part?
Well, the Z9, I was very thankful for, obviously, flagship camera, you know, massive build, super durable, all of that. And I felt like I had sort of come home again, you know, because it was a bigger camera, especially when you're using long lens. You can leverage that camera really well. This camera is smaller. It's, I think, like 30%, you know, lighter and smaller, but it's still got that chunky feel.
You can get it.
You can get your fingers around this. It's not like you have to hold it delicately or anything like that. This thing, my impression, even though it's smaller, it's going to be able to take a beating. And that's, you know, it's not what you want to give your camera. Let's face it. You don't want to be dropping the camera on purpose.
Yes, you do.
But, you know, the thing is, we shoot in all sorts of weather, right? All sorts of conditions. Wind, rain, okay, sides of a football game, whatever you might conceive of. And you want the camera to keep working. You know, weather sealing, durability, and responsiveness, you know, quickness, nimble. That's what I look for. And this has got it.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about the Z8 as a rumor, what could it be? What would be between the Z7 II and the Z9? What could actually happen there? And I think what we came out, what at least Nikon came out with here was a more accessible Z9. You're looking at a lot of the same specs. You're taking off the grip. You're going back to the EL15C battery, but you've got the 46 megapixel stack sensor, right? You've got the video capability, 8K, 60 frames per second, 12-bit raw video internal. I know you're just like looking at me glazing over. I know, but we'll get through this.
Do you actually believe any of these numbers?
The real difference is, as far as the body goes, if I had to explain, I think you're going to agree. If you took a Z7 II and a D850 and found somewhere in the middle, that's where the ergonomic feels to me. It's kind of got that feel.
Yes.
But what we're talking about physically, instead of C Express Type B twice over, we're looking at C Express Type B and an SD card slot, so you have two different card slots on this. We take away the Ethernet port that we know on the Z9, which you've used at the Olympics sometimes, some sports. But what's interesting here is we've got two USB-C ports. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very, very seamless to work with this because those two USB-C ports means you can download pictures and charge the camera. There's an input-output, basically, you know, as I'm not using technical language here, but it gives you a multiple opportunities to make your workflow more efficient. And I think your analogy of D850 is very accurate because the D850 feels like this camera, but then you can also put a grip into the D850, and then it's really a kind of a robust camera, and a grip is here for this too.
Yeah, it does exist for that as well, so if you want to get that full body experience, you can, and that means you can hot swap batteries because you can run two EL15C or B or A batteries in there, and you can hot swap them, and that's really cool if you already have those batteries from the 6, the 7, the D850s. I mean, that battery form goes back so far in the Nikon system, and you can just kind of use that right here with this as well. So that's like one of those things that keeps the legacy of the system going. If you're already in Nikon, it just makes it that much more easier to keep going with Nikon. So the grip is a nice thing, but if you do just said, man, I want a Z9, I didn't want to spend that much money, I want to dial back the size, it kind of just nails that part right there. But the only thing I'd say you're going to not have for the size is the third custom button inside the grip. You only get two here. Yeah. So maybe that's something to think about if you're looking at this, but I don't think it'll be like, well, that's the breaking point for me.
Well, there might be a few notable individuals out there who might complain about that.
Let's not. We're not that kind of channel.
There's actually a third custom function button in the back as well. Yeah. So if you really want to go deep into the function button woods and really program the camera to your liking, you still got a third function button.
And then another thing you might not see that you see on the Z9 is the flash sync port. So if that's something that's important to you, you might want to keep that in mind as well. I do want to touch back on the dual USB-C ports because let's say you're someone running video. you're gonna want something that can maybe have a data connection port, but then just run power delivery. And that's where you're really gonna see the 2 USB-C slots excelling, where you can run power to the camera for those long run times and still have an access point for data from the other USB-C port, which is just super smart, very forward thinking. But if you're someone that needs that Ethernet connection, you can get a dongle, USB-C to Ethernet, and you're back in the game just like you were at the Olympics. Same Ethernet, just with a little tiny adapter, and you're good to go.
Has anybody ever put you on a word meter to see how many words you're capable of saying?
Have you read your books? Have you read your own books yet?
Yes,
okay,
I have.
Okay, yeah. Had you get paid per word there, buddy? Okay, so let's start that with me, okay? Let's get back on track. I'm getting a signal from Fernando here that we're going a little off.
Go off track? You know?
Some of the good quality of life things that come with this, you still get that full-size HDMI port that we love so much, and the backlit buttons.
Backlit buttons, yes.
Everything.
Joy, we have joy. Okay, backlit buttons, yes, especially for someone with glasses who might be getting a little older. You know,
I take offense to that personally, but we are in a pretty dim lit nightclub. I mean, we were in some really low light situations right here at Swing 46. You were shooting a band, working with the already existing lights in the sky and mixing in some strobe. You want to talk about how your experience went with the camera as far as that goes?
Sure. I mean, you know, a jazz club is de facto kind of dark-ish environment. You know, I mean, colored gels, this and that. So I just tried to take my lighting and marry it to what existed in the club, augment it, tweak it, pull it forward a little bit so it really could play, and I could stop the action without going to a stratospheric ISO. So the strobes really helped me because we had wonderful swing dancers who were like, some of the time they were in the air. And that was also a test for me of how the camera functions in terms of the AF system. And I felt like from my Z9, which I'm very used to this, I wasn't missing a beat. Had eye detect, had the whole 9 yards of Z9 autofocus in play today in a dark environment with flash, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, I've only had the camera in my hands for like 3 hours, but I think I covered a lot of bases just kind of playing with it, and I'm digging it, definitely digging it.
Yeah, and you know, we went through the Z lenses, which are obviously going to be native to it, but you also had the FTZ adapter on the famous 200mm f2 for some portraits at the bar, and how'd it feel there?
Oh, it felt excellent, responsive. See, that has occurred over time, I think, because there's been some maybe confusion where people see the FTZ not as an adapter, but they hark back to an extender. You know, they see that small tube and they think, oh, it's an extender, I might lose some quality. The thing is, you have to remember, it's just a spacer.
Right.
There's no lens elements in it, so you don't really lose any AF acuity and you don't lose any function.
Yeah, and it's not dumb, like it actually has contact points, so it's talking seamless, but it's just nice to know that legacy glass can, I mean, that lens is, that's got some battle scars on it.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
you know, obviously, as like with the rest of the Z system, you can use your old legacy glass with it, with the FTZ adapter. But I mean, honestly, I think one of my favorite things about it, especially since you've been using the Z9 since like day one, it just felt familiar. If you know the Z system, you pick it up, you're in it. You're just going forward. I mean, the buttons are where they are, the menus are where it are. So I'd say this might be a camera for someone that might need like a second camera if they have multiple shooters in like a wedding and they need things to match and they don't want to get Z9s for everybody. Somebody that didn't want the size of the Z9. It's kind of their functionality. It's more a matter of just scaling back if you didn't need.
Yeah. You know, this guy, he's always getting in my shot. Can I get it a little bit? There's some good light. No, here's the thing. The cameras keep getting better, right? The technology keeps advancing, and we have to adapt with it and roll with it. And you know, I look at something like this, and smaller, lighter, just as fast, no loss of functionality. So my question back is, what's not to like?
Yeah, and I'm just going to close this out with, a lot of people are probably wondering, well, now you have 3 46 megapixel cameras in a row, right? Z7 II, Z8 and Z9, where does it lie? Well, if you're looking for the top performance and everything you got in it, Z9, stack sensor. You still need that stack sensor, but not so much the bigger battery, the grip, all that kind of stuff. Z8, you're dialing back the size. You're still keeping all the capabilities. That's the most important part. And then let's say you just a little bit more on a budget. You don't want to go all in. You have the Z7 II, which is not a stack sensor, still has a mechanical shutter, which is a big deal also. No mechanical shutter in this, just like the Z9. So you have these options from like more accessible to accessible with power to just going all out on the Z9, which I think I've actually been really enjoying this camera personally. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I know you kind of are partial to that, you know?
Yeah.
But the Z8 is a great option now.
Absolutely. I mean, I was at the 21 Olympics, and I took my Z7, I had a Z7 too, and took it out, and it's a wonderful camera, but I realized immediately that, you know, I'm not going to shoot an Olympic event at that, you know, in that style of camera. So I used the D6. Again, flagship camera, DSLR. But when I came back from the Olympics and I got my hands on the Z9, I wished I had the Z9 at the Olympics, because this generation of Z system in Nikon is just, it's a beast. It's off the charts.
And now let's say you wanted that same performance, but not the footprint in your bag or just something easier to carry around. You can go with the Z8. And then let's say you want to build it out, you have the option with the grip, which will also have a USB port in it as well. So it's 3 USB ports in the same camera. Don't even get me started. I know, I know.
Do you put your feet in your camera bag?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Actually, yes.
News to me. Okay, you heard it here first.
I think we're gonna wrap it up there. So if you guys have any questions about the Z8, hit a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Joe probably gonna jump in there as well. I will force him to, don't worry about that. Yeah, there you go. All right, don't forget to hit like, really helps out this video. And Joe, he needs the likes to feed his family. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe and the bell so you get notified when I put more videos like this. And we'll see you next time, huh, Joe?
Sounds good, yeah. Pleasure to be with Seth. He is one of the most durable. I'm saying this, you know?
It's the word that comes out first.
He's just out there, man. He's constantly out there. He's shooting. He's talking about it. He's looking at the gear. He's giving out information. He's on YouTube. He's on all over the place, Adorama TV, etc. So one of the best guys in the business, and I'm happy to be on this particular show with you.
And I'm honored to be with a legend like Joe McNally. On a serious note, I got nothing but love for you, and thank you so much for coming back on this channel. We missed you on the Z9 video. Glad we got you on the Z8 video.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time.
All right, man. You want to do a close?
You want to do a close?
Okay, I'll do a close.
I did my close. You want to do your close?
Okay, so I'm...
That's going to be an Easter egg after the credits now, watch.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a close.